Yep.
All right, try not to cry. Try not to get upset. Try to get over it. But the Curtis and Curtis show, this is the last one on the race to Minnesota. If you need help in that grief process, let us know. And their answer will be get to Minnesota because we are on the race to Minnesota. I'm Coach Curtis Johnson with Coach K. Curtis, and that's why I call it the Curtis and Curtis Show here at the E-commerce Business School on behalf of Ann Sieg and all the coaches and trainers, and so many of us will be, not me, but everybody else will be in almost everybody else. Minnesota coming up really, really soon. Hey, Kimberly, welcome everybody. You can write notes in the panel, questions, anything like that. This is the final Wednesday edition. We will be giving, as Kay will mention, a grand prize in Minnesota for those that come along. Some other really cool stuff. So thanks for everybody that joined and participated and came along for this ride. We love the community here. We love to give back and hope that this has helped you. I know it's helped me. I picked up a lot of things along the way. So, Kay, I'm going to flip it to slide number 2 and turn it over to you for today's instructions.
Okay, so this is our last week, and so we are going to do a review of all of the mindset rules that we've been talking about over the last 12 weeks. But before we do that, we got to go through our weekly prize winners. So let's go on to the next slide so they can see the prizes. The first one is the e-commerce mug or journal. The next one are some manifesting mugs that I created from all of this mindset training I've put together. And we have the cloud, the heart, and the section circle. And then we can go to the next one, which is the drop, the double heart, and the shooting star. And then the next one is the pyramid, and then the pyramid gratitude journal. So our weekly winner can pick from any one of those. They would just need to email support, and drum roll, our weekly winner for this week and our final weekly winner is Real Overton. Yay, Real. Everyone give her those. Oh, wow. Good job. Yes, she does. So, Real, if you'll just email support and let them know what you want, and then we will get that prize to you. The next slide just basically goes through how to email. The easiest way to email support is in your back office. There's a little support button down in the bottom right. You can glue on that. And then in Minnesota, we're going to be giving away our grand prize winner, which is the next slide, which is $100 Amazon gift card. And let me tell you, that is really helpful in this business. I have one or two myself over the years, and in participating in these challenges, and it is really a great thing. All right, let's get on to our goofy question of the day, the last goofy question of the day, which is how many siblings do you have? I actually am the oldest of six girls, so I have five sisters. Um,
Wow. I'm a middle boy, older and younger sister.
so that's my family dynamics, and that's my family right there. And so in order to do this summary, we've got a lot of slides to go through, so I want to kind of move it along. Please, if you have any questions, you can post them in the panel, and Kurt will keep an eye on that. So let's move on and let's get going. And if any of these seem to be confusing to you, we've recorded all of our sessions, and each week we went into detail on one or two of these things that we're going to go through really quickly. This is just a final summation going over very high level of all the different things that we talked about in detail over the last 12 weeks. So this is our mindset law summary for our journey to joy and success and abundance. And you're on that slide, right, Kurt? The Okay, so let's go to the next slide. The first thing we talked about that I introduced was the 10% More Club. And we started this series with that to help us avoid a lot of overwhelm. that we sometimes feel when we start something new with a good sized learning curve. And almost every program that we have is not hard to do, but there's definitely a learning curve. And as you get going and you start adding more options into your business, you start expanding your business, you're going to be in a constant state of a learning curve. So while we were learning these other mindset laws, I wanted to start with a very easy one to get you going, to not feel so overwhelmed about this. And that's the 10% more club. So let's go to the next slide. So when we're talking about the 10% more, it's that whatever you're doing, whether it's sourcing books, sourcing RA, creating new POD products, it doesn't matter what elements of your business you're working on. If you just set a goal to do 10% more each month, and even if you don't make that, if you do it for a year, you're going to be 120% higher than what you were a year ago. But even if you don't do it every month, you still have some grace period to make some significant progress. And when we look at this graphic, 10% more is not that much over what you're already doing. So if you were sourcing 50 books a month, now you're going to try to source 55. Very simple. Next slide. Then we really got into our mindset laws. And the first thing was to understand law. That there's a difference between universal laws and man-made laws. Man-made laws come and go, and they can change. And they may or may not apply to everybody, depending on whether people get caught. Universal laws, however, have always been in effect. They work in harmony with each other. They don't change, and they don't discriminate. Consequences, good or bad, apply to everyone. There is no exception. Remember, we went through the law of gravity. You can use all the mindset things you want, but you step off of a cliff, you're going to fall. So, and then next slide. Then we talked about competitive playing versus creative playing. So when we go to the next slide, when you look at the competitive plane, when we live in a more negative mindset, we also tend to live on a competitive plane, which means if your piece of the pie represents the prosperity that you enjoy, then to get more, someone else must get less. And that's a negative mindset. That's not the way we want to think. Let's go to the next slide. We want to be on the creative plane. And on the creative plane, when you live in a more positive mindset, then when you get more, what you do is you push your piece of the pie out. And by moving it out, it increases the diameter of the pie. And because nature abhors a vacuum, the rest of the pie gets filled in by law, and a bigger pie is created for everyone. So living in this mindset not only benefits you, but just by the nature of the way you're living, you are going to benefit or help lots of other people. And that's also part of the mindset that we want to be living on. Next slide. Then we talk specifically about the law of thought. Okay, and next slide. Remember that these are just a couple of quotes on that. You do have control over your life. You have chosen to be where you are now. This is good news, believe me. You may not like where you are now, but now you know that you have the power to change it. Next slide. When you realize that you are the master of your circumstances, all things are possible. There's no need for negativity. You're in control. And these are two books that are really great books that help with mindset and help get your head in the right space. Next slide. Then we talked about the power of music and building a musical first aid kit, and gave you lots of examples of how that can work. And all of us are going to have different types of music that affect us in different ways and that we like. But this is a really powerful tool to help you with mindset. Next slide. And then we talked about the power of thoughts and words and music on water. Remember, I showed you that video of a I don't know how to say the doctor's name, but it was The Hidden Messages in Water is the book. And if you go to the next slide, it shows you the power of thoughts, words, and music on water and what it does to the crystals of water. And this is a really powerful thing that hit me. I remember when I first saw it, it just kind of blew me away, and I wanted to make sure that I work harder on controlling those thoughts and that. And then we conclude that section, next slide, that if our thoughts can do that to water, imagine what your thoughts can do to you, because you up to 60% of our body is water. And that's why I created those manifestation mugs, because it has all these great words on the mug that when you fill it with water, those words infuse that water, which you then put into your body. Next slide. We then went on to the law of continual transformation. Next slide. And what that was is that everything, object, or circumstance is either developing into form or dissipating out of form. Okay, remember, things are either coming into form, so our ideas, our creativity, depending on how they're treated in that fertile ground of our brain. Next slide. So our dreams, our ideas, held long enough with positive belief thoughts, will begin to move from invisible, just a thought, to physical manifestations in our lives. Next slide. Good thoughts and actions can never produce bad results. Bad thoughts and actions can never produce good results. Men imagine that thoughts can be kept secret, but it cannot. It rapidly crystallizes into habit, and habit solidifies into circumstances. So as much as you try to disguise your thoughts, they are definitely going to be manifested in your life. Next slide. You are the creator of your world. As we use our thoughts constructively and positively, we become creators, bringing order and form to our formless ideas. Belief and gratitude are emotions that will speed up the creative process. Belief that it can be done, and gratitude bringing it into the present as though you already have it. So when you're thinking about and manifesting things, you want to be grateful for it and talk about it in terms of the present as though you already have it, even if you don't. It helps to speed up the process of it manifesting into your life. Next slide. Then we talked about the law of relativity, and then more detail on the power of gratitude. The law of next slide. The law of relativity, basically this law states that nothing we experience is fundamentally good or bad. And the way it tips the scale is by the thoughts and emotions we allow to be attached to it. So something that we consider bad is only bad relative to something better. And if you compare your situation to something much worse, it will help you to maintain a more positive perspective, and that's what the goal is with this law. Next slide. Remember that every experience is our teacher. We must recognize that it is for our learning and growth. And as I've said before, you want to flip your thinking from looking at these bad or hard experiences as stumbling blocks and realize that they are just stepping stones. So instead of asking, why is this happening to me? We flip it around and ask, what am I supposed to learn? And by doing that flip in our mindset, all of a sudden it becomes clear. Because if we don't learn the lesson, guess what? Things keep happening until we do learn the lesson. So if you don't like some of those experiences that are being thrown to you, you're not getting it. And you need to start turning around and start looking for the lessons so that you can master that process to be able to move on to something else. Next slide. We can have gratitude for our present no matter where we are or what our circumstance is, because it is the lessons of the present that prepare us for our future outcomes. So gratitude helps us make sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates vision for tomorrow. Next slide. Then we talked about the law of vibration. Next slide. Which states that not only is everything in a state of vibration or motion, but that vibration is a medium for transferring signals. Next slide. And this is one of my favorite quotes from Einstein. Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy, this is physics. So it's scientifically proven. Next slide. Emotion is the key. We want to put ourselves into a vibration that is in harmony with the circumstances that we desire. How do we do that? You pay attention to your thoughts and feelings and force yourself to daydream and feel what it might be like to have that dream in your life. Emotions or feelings are nothing more than a conscious awareness of a particular vibration and helps us recognize what kind of thoughts, positive or negative, that are the dominating force in our life right now. Next slide. We then talked about the law of opposition. Next slide. The law of opposition states that everything of consequence has an opposite that is of equal degree. Next slide. Napoleon Hill said that every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. It's the opposition that helps us appreciate the good, to enable us to have greater gratitude, and also helps us grow stronger. Think about someone that exercises, lifting weights. It's the resistance that makes us stronger. And that's so true in life as well. Next slide. Then we talked about the law of rhythm. Next slide. The law of rhythm states that nature's movements are in cycles or rhythm. There is repetition in everything, in and out, up and down. It's an ocean of motion constantly. Next slide. And we can look at nature to help us learn these rhythms of life. The moon teaches us that it's okay to go through phases. And the sun teaches us that no matter how many times you go down, you keep rising. Next slide. When you are up, expect that one day your up won't be enough and it will feel like a down. When you focus on the positive and draw that into your life, most of us will get comfortable and level out or plateau, but eventually become dissatisfied with the plateau. And what was once wonderful is now every day, and you may feel low, not because you are low, but because it's time for you to move forward again. This is the law of rhythm in action. Next slide. So we keep climbing. The law of rhythm guarantees that you will feel ups and downs, ins and outs. But as we learn to live by law, we can know that our lows are just an absence of a high. This is what keeps us climbing. Next slide. Then we talked about the law of cause and effect. Next slide. This law states that every cause has an effect and every effect has a cause. Nothing happens by chance. Next slide. And we talked about the importance to have the right motivation. We want to seek abundance for the right reasons. Remember, this is part of the mindset of having things, doing things for the right reasons. We want to seek abundance to do good, to help others, to provide for the necessities for our families, to pay all of our obligations on time and honestly. We're not doing it to impress people or to prove something to anyone. This law reminds us to keep our actions worthy or we will get caught. Next slide. Then we talked about, in order to help with this, my motivation is just create a kindness revolution. You can't, it's like the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You send out kindness, it's going to come back. It can't not, by law, it's going to come back. It may not come back from the person that you gave the kindness to. That doesn't matter who brings it back. But that's, if you want to kick the goodness meter up a notch, start a kindness revolution. Look for ways to help other people. And we gave a lot of examples on some easy, fun things to do to get that part of your life going. Next slide. Then we talked about the law of gestation. Next slide. Which is basically that every seed or idea has an incubation period. Next slide. Every thought seed sown or allowed to fall into the mind and to take root there produces its own, blooming sooner or later into act and bearing its own fruitage of opportunity and circumstances. Good thoughts bear good fruit, bad thoughts bear bad fruit. Next slide. This was the fun one we talked about last week. The vacuum law of prosperity. Next slide. Nature abhors a vacuum. Next slide. So when things seem to fall apart, creating a vacuum, or that you purposely create a vacuum, that's when everything you have manifested has room to enter your life. You almost need to create a vacuum, or the universe will create a vacuum for you in order to allow new things into your life. So when things aren't going as you planned, or you would like to make sure you are doing your part, next slide. Make sure, if things aren't going as planned, make sure that you are doing your part applying these mindset rules from the mindset toolbox. All of these rules interconnect with each other, and there's a synergy in them when you understand them and how they're applying together. Next slide. Remember, your mind can be busy analyzing and reorganizing old thoughts. This is not thinking. This is just a busy mind. Thinking right is creating new thoughts. Next slide. And when we think, our mind opens up to new ideas, impressions, even hidden ways to make things happen. And even attracting people and circumstances into our lives that are going to help to make things happen. Next slide. If you are doing these things, then be at peace. Have some patience. You don't want a half-baked manifestation. In the meantime, work on you. Prepare yourself to receive the manifestation. Prepare yourself so you are ready when it comes. Put the buckets out before the rain. Next slide. Prepare yourself to receive. Open the box so you can think outside the box. So many times, the way manifestations and things come into our life are so different than the way they thought they would. And the reason they can come that way is because we're not so focused on the method of them coming that we just allow the universe to bring it in the method that's right for us. And so by preparing ourselves to receive and opening the box, we are making ourselves so that we can think outside the box. Next slide. Our closing thoughts. Prepare yourself to receive. People would save so much time if they would stop trying to find themselves and started creating themselves with good creative thinking. Last slide for me. Next slide. Trust the laws and do your part. Believe, be open to ideas, look for the way, and express gratitude for where you are. Back to you, Kurt.
Really good stuff, Kay. And we have a surprise for everybody. Perfect timing by Ann jumping in here. You know, we as a community have talked about it. We've talked about it as staff. We've trained on it. We've presented it. There is a certain percentage of what happens up here that will attribute to your success. And I talked about that in the boot camp this morning. So I'm going to turn it over to Ann to talk a little bit about that. We have yet to talk about wrapping this up and getting people to Minnesota and sharing that. But Kate just finished her series, Ann, and it was amazing and wonderful. So yay, Kay. Thank you, Kay. And over to you, Ann.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you to Kay for several weeks, a few months of giving such tremendous value to what is the most important part of your business. And I have to say, it could very likely be the people that who need it the most are unfortunately not here or haven't accessed these recordings that we put a lot of effort into. Like Kay prepared each and every week for all of you to benefit from. But here's what I want to say. This is an ongoing battle to keep yourself in a good mindset. The more consistent you are in that battle, the more prepared you are so that you don't have to go back and kind of restore yourself. You want to do this on an ongoing basis. And so what I want to be able to do with what Kay created is take out those slices of Kay's training and have those in the back office. Because so often, I'm just going to say, when I see people make, well, there it is, Kay, when they make their comments and posts, I do have to say, people's mindset comes pouring out through their post or their comment. I was on there last night fairly late and watching, noting, and going, it's really all about how you perceive your challenge. And pardon me, I was just talking to Kurt this morning about it. It's like, one of the biggest problems is how they are beset with their particular problem and going through that. And I'm going to tell you this, Kay, I'm just mildly curious. Do you find that in business that there continue to be problems, or did this all disappear with a snap of your fingers? Is it an ongoing, you've hit a snag, you hit another snag? Is that fairly consistent?
Yeah, it's stepping stones. You're never going to not have things that's part of the resistance that makes you stronger.
That's right.
That builds your business, and you're constantly learning, looking for new ways to expand your business. So you're always going to be in a learning curve. And that's why you need to ask, what is it I'm supposed to learn? Not why is this happening to me? What is it I'm supposed to learn so that I can move forward at a more accelerated pace? And that's too where the community and coaching comes into play. You'll learn it on your own at some point. But I found for myself that as I got coaching and went to events, that I propelled myself in a much faster way because I learned faster what I needed to learn so that I could move at a faster pace.
I love it. I couldn't agree more. It's really just having a different lens. Instead of a snag or a challenge, it's a stepping stone.
Right.
And what is so tragic is when people, they hit their first stepping stone, go, well, this is my stepping off point.
Yeah.
And then they're gone. And here's the fact of the matter, unless you persist in embracing these challenges, you're not going to be able to be a strong person. You're just going to always be pulling into retreat mode. So what I really want to encourage here as a final thought, Coach Kurt, it's in our back office. I should bring it up, our countdown for coming to Trifecta, for which, Kay just made that determination. She's going to be there, and she's scanned all the way there. You've heard her story, and she just made it happen. I believe we are, I don't have got to jump into the back office, but we're about 10 days away. 10 days away. And the story of Debbie Kane is she bought like on January 6th or so, and 8 days later, she was at our event. And when you guys all had the opportunity to listen to her interview, and I said, why? And she said, Ann, because I needed to accelerate my business as fast as possible. Now, there may be some of you, acceleration isn't your thing. You're more of a dawdler. And I'm just going to say it. There are some dawdlers here. Business doesn't, I just got to be candid. Business does not accommodate dawdlers. You're probably going to get run over because you're just calling a whistling Dixie and someone else is burning rubber. And in business, it's about speed. It's about being fast. It's about seizing the opportunity. So Coach Kurt, I gather the link is in this post. And so people can just go to the link. Which link is it? I just want to make sure I'm giving
ebsliveevents.com. And Ann, let me interrupt and just give a few kudos to Kay here that are pouring in from the comments.
Good.
Janice says, I just love all the strong knowledge and amazing people in this community. Can hardly wait to meet you in person. Rill says, Kay, you have been sharing with us, has personally helped me to keep a positive mindset and stay motivated. God bless you. And Debbie is in the house, and changes bring evolution. Beth says, Kay, thank you so much for all your time. This is awesome. It helps me to keep going. Great ideas, Kay. And so I guess I could keep reading on and on. A lot of kudos and thanks, Kay. So thank you for all that. So, and we've given, Kay has given, we have given, and Ann, I'm kind of segueing in. There's some things we're giving away in Minnesota coming up in 10 days too, isn't there?
Which is kind of crazy, right, Kay?
Yeah, very crazy.
It's kind of absurd. We are giving away 2 UBL tickets. One was given away this past Sunday. There's still the opportunity for you to be a part of that. People are going, what in the world is UBL? My apologies. Our ultimate business lifestyle retreat in Estes Park, Colorado. The ultimate business lifestyle retreat, 3 days, Friday, Saturday. We stop midday on Sunday. It's beyond gorgeous. So the ultimate business lifestyle retreat, 2 tickets. One has already been given away. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, an e-commerce master's program membership. It is a $10,000 value, and it is worth every penny. It's so thorough. And we're giving one of those away. You must be at all 3 days to even be eligible for the giveaway. But it's absurd. And I've told Kurt, we're not doing that again. It was Kurt's idea, Kay, but I said, okay, after this, never again. Honestly, it is so incredible.
I expanded the bubble, Kay, and Kay, and Ann is trying to catch up.
Okay, there's the bubble. I better get inside this bubble. I'm thinking that's bigger thinking.
Yes, Kay talked about that today. We do expand.
Bigger thinking.
Yeah, bigger thinking. Yes.
Elevated thinking. I can believe it. So yeah, we're really excited, and it's not too late. We still have seats. We're working so hard with our preparation. If you guys only knew the preparations that go on behind this, months and months of planning. So get yourself there. If you're any bit serious about your business, make it happen. It's only 8 days away. You gotta be there. We have a meet and greet on Thursday night. So Renee, she told me her husband's coming on Thursday night. Yay, Renee. That's gonna be fun to meet your husband. But that's a lot of fun. And then you start early on Friday, of course, because there's a lot of ground to cover. We start at 8 a.m. We work you hard. Okay, true or true. We're going to work you hard.
And work hard and you play hard.
That's right. Work hard and you play hard. This is not, here's what people tell us. It is very rare when you go to a workshop and people actually really give you the inside goods. And they're like, you really do that? Well, I'm like, yeah, we want you to be successful. So of course we're going to do that. So you guys get registered. The link is here. And if you need to get a new call, Sharon is available, or Coach Kurt. Candida is available. She's a rock star. Kay. So we'll get you booked into a kickstart if some of you have never experienced your kickstart and you just need to know, how do I get my butt in gear? I'm hearing all this mindset, but I've not had a winner's mindset. The vast majority of people do not. I hate to say it, but it's really true.
They sabotage themselves.
Over and over and over and over. And you need people to help counter that and say, no, bootstrap, you can do this. We got you here. You need to be in a community where people do have that winner's mindset. So you can get into the winner's circle. You maybe never been in the winner's circle in your entire life. Make this be the time you get to be in the winner's circle. Right, Kay? It's worth fighting for to be in that winner's circle, isn't it?
Yep, it is.
It kicks in such this great feeling of, you know what? I proved I could do it. And you know what that tells you? You can go out and do more and bigger and better things. And that's why I pursue things. They call it an endorphin. That's what it is. It kicks in and you go, I did it. I wonder what else I can do. It's the best of the best. So thank you so much, Kay. Everyone, please put in your kudos for Kay. This has been a lot of giving. Put in your kudos. Make Kay proud.
That's right.
Yeah. Make Kay proud and implement what she is telling you to do. And keep us posted per what Kay has taught you. So we're going to make these calls more available to you. I do not have it. They're all on this page, but we'll get them in our back office somewhere within hopefully soon. And you can just listen to those in the background every morning, right? You got it. Is that right? Cultivate your mind.
Yep.
So beautiful. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll look forward to seeing you in beautiful Bloomington, Minnesota. You're going to regret it if you're not there. Make it happen.
Bring your suits for the hot tub.
That's where there's masterminding.
Yep.
And it's true. Candida said the same thing too, by the way. So it is a fact. All righty. Thank you, Coach Kurt. Thank you, Kay.
Thank you. All right, guys. Call it a wrap.
Bye-bye.